Tonight, on a brand new edition of the Racing Fans Interview Central, we sit down in a one-on-one exclusive interview with the most recent NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour winner, Andy Seuss. He will describe his emotions after an outstanding performance at South Boston Speedway in South Boston, Virginia. That's all here next, live on the Racing Fans weekly segment of Interview Central. Well, first off, I'd like to welcome you to the show. How you doing this evening, Andy?
Excellent. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so obviously a great weekend for you, getting the victory at South Boston and assuming the points lead here early in the season. Explain to me what the victory was like last weekend.
Pretty incredible. You know, it's just one of those days you dream about. I haven't had a car that good in a very long time. And, you know, I knew our car was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good, and you know there's really no reason for it other than the crew just gave me a great car, made the right decisions on the halfway break pit stop, and the car got even better the second half, and I never really had to drive it hard, you know, on restarts. Even if the outside pole got a jump, I could just drive it in harder. It had incredible corner speed, really good forward bite, good motor, and just one of those days you dream about. And I don't expect it, you know, to be that simple all the time, but, you know, the number 11 Phoenix Pre-Owned team's really on top of its game, and we're looking for more of the same here this weekend at Langley.
Now, I know you were a little upset in Victory Lane that this wasn't your third victory of the season after getting your first at Southern National, but however, still great showing. Do you feel like this is really your best opportunity to beat George Brunenhosel for the championship this season?
Yeah, you know, typically we struggle in the first part of the season for whatever reason, just bad luck and, you know, mechanical failures. So to have 3 straight top fives and 2 of them being wins, pretty incredible. After Southern National finishing 4th, we went hard at it in the shop. We did our homework on what we missed, what we had to do to be better the following week. And a lot of people were laughing at me, saying that they'd never seen somebody so upset to finish 4th. But we knew we had our work cut out. We didn't have our act together at Southern National. You know, I'm real happy we salvaged a 4th place finish after what I think was just an evil handling car. So it was all good. And looking forward, I think we have, you know, everything set up to keep the momentum. And yeah, this is a new feeling for me to be leading the points this early in the season, and you know, hopefully it doesn't screw us up for how strong we are in the second half of the season, and we can just keep up the momentum. And you know, we're winning races, but that's what we're going to have to do to beat George Brunel. You have to win races. The 5 out of the last 7 races we won, he finished second. So it's obviously tough. He's one of the best, and the person we look to, and you know, kind of he sets the bar, and we look to how we compare against him.
So we're heading to Langley Speedway this weekend. What are your expectations, really, and how do you look to achieve them?
You know, that's a track that's been really good to myself and the Ideal Racing team. Last year we led the most laps and dropped out with an alternator failure, so we're just going over the car real good, making sure we don't have issues like that again this year, and we're looking to do the same. If we have a car as good as we had last year, I think we'll be able to compete for the win. I really, after this past weekend, I feel we might have a better car. So looking forward to that. I know the competition's going to be stiff. Obviously, everybody went home and worked on their cars even more. You know, when you're running out front, you got the big bullseye on your back, so we can't lay down. We can't just be content with what we got. We're also working on our cars to make them better. So I expect nothing but a tough race with all the top competition, but hopefully have the similar results this past weekend.
Right. Now, you've got 17 career NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified victories. However, a Northern Modified Tour victory still eludes you. Are you hoping to compete in that series this season? If so, do you know what track, and do you think you can come away victory lane?
Yeah, the tracks we're looking at this year right now are Monadnock and Loudon. Both tracks very, very close to me. I've won it at Monadnock in other modified competition, not NASCAR, and we qualified well there. We had a 6th place finish there last year. Loudon, you know, is just the Daytona of modified, especially for me being from New Hampshire, 45 minutes away, it would mean the world to me to win that race. So I think we can go. We can be competitive. The competition there is very stiff, especially when you're not running on their rules and their tires every week. It's harder to show up and compete. But, I got great opportunities with Ideal Racing, as well as our own family number 70, Rockingham boat number 70. And those are the cars we'll be running up there. But, the reason I haven't really focused much on there is I just have better opportunities down south. If people like Eddie Harvey and David Riggs call you and want to drive their cars, you just go. And I just haven't had the opportunity. I haven't driven for a Robert Auer or a Bob Garbarino. And, that's what you need to do to be competing for wins up there. So our little team is great, our 70 car, but we really don't have the equipment that it takes to compete on that tour regularly. So we focused our efforts down south where I have better opportunities, and it's proven to be successful. But that definitely is a big target, that we shoot at, is to win a northern race. But this year we're 100% focused on the southern tour. The championship on that, we're not going to take any chances tearing up our good car up north. And, maybe that'll be a different focus, more of a focus in years to come.
Yeah, and you mentioned a little bit there about New Hampshire being your one of your home tracks, really. So I want to ask you this question, kind of hot topic in NASCAR right now, and it's about adding lights at New Hampshire to have possibly a night race there. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I think that would be incredible, especially modified under the lights there. That would be a sight to be seen. Really excited for that. New Hampshire obviously has the 2-day Cup race along with the modified races. It would just need a little variety there, 1-day race, 1-night race. It gives you a little bit more of a challenge, as far as setting the cars up, when you're practicing during the day, go to nighttime. And, the modifieds, the air cleaners sticking out the top and the wheels sticking out the sides, they really shine under the lights, and I think Loudon would be a great place to display that.
So let's get another question here for the NASCAR touring folks. Can we expect to see you venture out in the Truck Series or possibly the Nationwide Series this season or next? If so, do you know what team you would possibly drive for?
Last year, Jim Rosenblum in the number 28 FDNY truck was just gracious enough to give me an opportunity to try and qualify at Rockingham. Didn't have the best outing. Right now, not a whole lot on my schedule other than NASCAR Modified. But that's one of the reasons I moved down south, primarily to be closer to my team, help them in the shop day in and day out, but really to further my career. So I'm beating on doors. I'm begging owners, put me in their vehicles. And, right now I've got a lot of irons in the fire. Nothing to say solid or I can do this or that. Just searching for the right funding. It takes sponsorship dollars these days, and just trying to get the right match between a sponsor, a car owner, and team that I feel is worth going to the races with, and just trying to further myself that way.
Now, this might be a little bit of a question that you might think about maybe every once in a while, but do you ever think that if your team could secure sponsorship possibly or something like that and someone noticed you, a company or something, that you could possibly take your team that you're with right now and move up?
I definitely would, and I've worked on trucks and, with Jim Rosenblum Racing, and I've been with Raymock Racing and worked on trucks and ARCA cars, and that's something I think our team could definitely take on. At first, I was a little bit shy around the heavy, full-fender cars and thinking it was a little bit over my head, but you know what, it's a race car, and the more I got involved, the more I got, acclimated to it, and, a little bit more confident about making the decisions. I've been involved with the trucks with Blake Cook, Ryan Ellis at Daytona, kind of hands-on, working a little bit more, and I think that my knowledge that I've worked with over the modified can be applied, and someday that would be great. I'd actually prefer that. I think if the right opportunity came along and we ran it out of either our SS Motorsports or Ideal Racing stables, I think we could do it at a cheaper price than a lot of the big teams are doing, because we'd be hands-on, we wouldn't be farming stuff out. So, there's definitely that opportunity there. I'd love to take on that challenge. I think we could be successful at it.
Now let's get to, I guess, if you will, our final formal question. What would a Southern Modified Tour Championship this season mean for you personally? Obviously it'd be your first one, and it's really, we're in the heat of some of the best racing in the modifieds that we've seen for years. So just kind of elaborate on what that would mean for you.
It would be huge. I can't even tell you what it would be. A little hard-working kid from New Hampshire in a blue-collar family that really was racing go-karts and never really envisioned myself going further. I've been fortunate enough to meet the right sponsors and car owners and crew members along the way that got me this far, which I never really pictured myself making it. To say that I have the opportunity to take advantage of something like this and maybe come home a champion, that'd just be a dream come true. That would be like a life's work with a period on the end of it, just something completed. And, we're in a good position right now. We got to keep doing what we're doing, worried about winning races. That's something we've, been successful at, but as far as the consistency to win a championship, we haven't quite got. So we got to focus on that, and I can't tell you how much it would mean to me.
All right, so let's go a little bit of rapid-fire questions here. So let's have fun. It's basically, I'm just going to ask you, there'll be two options, and you choose between the two. So I think there's like 6 or 5 quick ones here. So let's have fun.
All right.
All right, do you prefer chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Dogs or cats?
Dog.
Chickens or squirrels?
What's that?
Chickens or squirrels?
Chicken.
Danica or Ricky?
I'll go Danica on that one.
Spring or fall? Do you prefer spring or fall?
Spring.
Winter or summer?
Summer, for sure. Racing season.
Now, in this season, we've seen a lot of changes to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Do you ever wish that the modifieds would possibly have a chase format?
That's an interesting question, and I'm a little bit old school on that. I think if, the races are a unique individual event and they're exciting for themselves, you reward the championship with the person that did the best job for the whole year. So I really do like our format. That being said, last year we won 3 out of the last 4 races. So who's to say if there was a chase we wouldn't have come home victorious? It was the second time in my career I was the highest point earner in the second half of the season. So, that might have played into my advantage. But I do believe in a standard cup or standard all-season type championship format.
So now we've seen 7 different winners in 7 races. If you've been paying attention to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, do you think that possibly we could have 16 different winners?
It sure is possible. There's a lot of guys out there that haven't won yet that are, and at this point of the year, you'd say, okay, Jimmy Johnson might have 2 or 3 wins, and same with Kyle Busch. But the fact that Jimmy Johnson has none, he could win every week out. So until he wins, he's the most likely one to win 2 races a year. So, even if he won next year, that's still a different winner, and he is going to win one too, and we all know that. So it's definitely possible, and the competition's there, and it's really showing.
All right, so I'll give you 2 more questions here. One's going to be, if you could compare yourself to a Sprint Cup Series driver in the modern or the past, who would you compare your driving style to?
I'd like to say I've been compared to Matt Kenseth before. Kind of quiet in the style, just slowly sneaking up there and, real competitive. But that, to say that I'm like a Matt Kenseth is incredible because, he's one of the best. And, with my driving style for a crew chief that I worked with compared me to David Pearson, kind of holding it out sideways quite a bit. And I drove for him for a long time. And he told me, I just kept telling him, loosen it up. Don't worry, I won't burn the tires off. And once he listened to me and he freed it up and he said that he did it despite thinking that I was just going to burn the right rear tire off, he couldn't believe that I kept it on there. So those are 2 people I've been compared to, and to be in that company is quite an incredible honor.
All right, and finally, if you were president of the United States of America, what would be one change that you'd like to make?
Well, that's opening a can of worms there, but I really feel that all our founding fathers, even though it was 200 and plus years ago, were some of the smartest people in the world, and I'd probably get rid of most of the changes since then, since the first rules they laid down. That would be my thing. I'm kind of old school, believe in very few rules, whether it's racing or life in general, and I'd go back to the basics for sure.
Yeah. So we got a nice old politician, racer, great guy, Andy Seuss. Thanks for joining us. So that's going to end today's edition of Interview Central. A huge thanks goes out to you for joining us here. Anybody you'd like to really send a shout out to? Maybe sponsors, family, friends.
Yeah, everybody that makes this car happen. The Harvey family. Eddie Harvey's my owner and crew chief. We've become real close friends. David Riggs Race, and Reggie Newman and the whole crew that just goes along with it. And we just couldn't do it without Raymond horsepower, Pro Shocks, Racing Electronics, Pro Systems Brakes, Phoenix Pre-Owned Motors, Ideal Finance, and I could go on and on. There's a lot of little guys that make this team tick, and it's really it's like a little village that makes this team go on, and definitely couldn't do it without any one of you. So thank you very much.
Okay, that'll conclude today's show. Make sure to subscribe and like this video and give a big follow to @Andy Seuss on Twitter. Thanks for joining, and I really appreciate it, man.